I grew up that there was this idea that and dating myself again, but the Jerry Maguire idea of like, oh, the you complete me. Oh, like, hey, I'm broken, but now with you, I'm totally fixed. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, I think that whole idea of trying to find the one that understands you so well without having to like get to know you, or without you getting to know yourself, or working on yourself, or putting yourself first to identify.
Welcome to Startup Spouses, where we help entrepreneurial couples take their relationship from mediocre to mind-blowing. I'm Marie, a relationship and sex coach.
And I'm Adam. I'm a business coach.
So today we're talking about ourselves.
Ourselves?
Yes.
How selfish, Marie.
I know it is very selfish of me. But why? Why is it so important that we take care of ourselves?
Well, I think this comes I think this whole question of this kind of stems back to how we grew up and how we were conditioned, and what we perceive romance as. So let me paint a picture, if you don't mind, of kind of how I grew up, and some things I've heard with a lot of I'm in groups with a lot of different people trying to be better, and a lot of times I hear a lot of guys talking about the idea of like, how do I show up better for my spouse? How do I show up better for my wife? Right. And I think that's a very noble thing. And that's like something I want to show up better for you. I want to be the best husband I can be, right. Because I want you to be happy and all of this kind of stuff.
Can I say one thing about that though?
Of course.
It's putting a lot on our plate to figure that out for you.
Yeah.
Because it's how can I show up better for you? The first thing I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get the laundry out of the washer and put it in the dryer, and the kids are over here, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, my headspace is like I'm going from one thing to going to another thing, and I'm like, I can't even think straight for myself.
Right. Well, I'm curious about that a little bit, because I want to dive into that.
Yeah.
Because I think from the perspective of the man who wants to help you to be fulfilled, right, and to be happy, and to make sure that I'm meeting all of your needs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me how that hits you. Like if I'm just to say like, hey, I want to be the best husband in the world. Like I want to be so good. I want to win at husbanding and fathering, and tell me what I can do to do that for you. Like how does that hit you?
It seems like a lot of work for myself,
yeah. So
to tell you what to do. Yeah, to tell you what to do for me.
Yeah. So how would you respond to that? Like to me, if I were to say that to you, say I came to you like 10 years ago and asked you and said that, just this epiphany. Hey, I woke up this morning. I want to be the best husband in the world. What do I do? What do you need what can I do?
I don't know. Pick the kids up from school and, make dinner all the time, and
so all those things seem very surface level.
Yes,
right?
It seems very surface level.
Yeah.
It's like what do you want me to do around the house? And there's like this back and forth of people saying, well, you should already know.
Yeah.
First of all.
Right. So, and that's an interesting one, because this actually came from this whole topic came from a lot of feedback you got on a post recently on TikTok and Instagram, where you posted about you finding really what you needed for yourself. Am I describing that correctly? Because you were talking about that you used to depend on me or to really determine that for you, or understand that, or know that, and then just show up and meet all your needs without asking or without any kind of prompting or anything like that. The whole post was about you not doing that, but you depending more on yourself. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, it was a lot of me saying it's a lot of me having expectations of you that I have yet to tell you what to do. And I go back to the saying of my sponsor who says, you can ask for what you want, but don't expect it.
Right. Yeah.
I can ask for your help in a certain matter, but I don't expect you to say yes because I can. But here's the thing: is like if you can't do take the kids here, do the dishes, or feed, all the surface level stuff. I can find somebody else who could do it.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
And take that off my plate.
Right. Right. But where's the deep, meaningful connection in that? And where's, I think
not.
that post that was rooted in this idea that you kind of have to discover that for yourself and determine how you meet your own needs for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Which is where this episode is going is kind of like the idea of like, we're not going to be equipped to meet anybody else's needs or be the best anything until we figure out at our core who we are, what we want, what our desires are. I think that's the root of this episode.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of pushback on that in the comments section.
Yes, exactly.
Which are where basically just decorum and love go to die is the comment section. But you got a lot of like, oh hell no, that's not right.
He should be doing this and he should be doing that.
He should just know. I mean, he should just be tuned to me. I mean, Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks told me that in We Got Mail or whatever.
That you're so dating yourself. I think this younger generation, and I'm starting to feel like an old person now, but saying is like the expectations are a lot higher, and how they need to find this perfect person without red flags,
Right. Yeah.
and that they should be attuned to everything that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a fear around that too, that like, I don't know, when I grew up, that there was this idea that and dating myself again, but the Jerry Maguire idea of like, oh, the you complete me. Oh, like, hey, I'm broken, but now with you, I'm totally fixed. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, I think that whole idea of trying to find the one that understands you so well without having to like get to know you, or without you getting to know yourself, or working on yourself, or putting yourself first to identify what your desires are, what you want, what you fantasize about, what your goals are, and what your vision for your life is.
Yes.
Without another person.
I think this is like a self-discovery thing. It's not like self-care. This is more of a self-discovery, like what your wants and needs and fantasies and what you're saying exactly too.
Right.
And it goes back to what I teach my kids. Know your body before you are with somebody else. Like I think that's the most important sex education that you can give your child too.
Yeah.
And heaven forbids people out there get upset at me for using sex as pleasure. I understand that, but well,
if you're listening to the show and you don't believe that sex should be pleasurable, or that's not one of the primary objectives, then you're probably listening to the wrong show, or you're listening to the right show if you have an open mind to change your mind. Because frankly, if you're not incorporating pleasure into sex, then you're just simply wrong, and you're missing out on one of the most beautiful and wonderful and exciting and pleasurable human experiences.
Now you're going to make me go down a rabbit hole, because I'm like,
sure.
the fact
descend my bunny of beauty. I don't know. Just go down that rabbit hole.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to dig deep. Okay, so people who get triggered by the comments that I say, it's asking yourself why.
Yeah.
What's behind that? And what you are getting is a lot of social shaming.
Right.
And where is that shaming coming from? What's past that shaming part of it?
Yeah. And interestingly, I mean, this was not like the topic for our show is like not sexual pleasure, but here we are.
I know.
And we're gonna and like because
it's self-discovery.
Because it is definitely a part of who you are at yourself, at your core, and your relationship with your spouse. And I mean, I'm going to bring this back to the relational side of business in a moment too, because that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to share kind of my personal history with sex generally.
Yeah.
Is that, I had a lot of shame around the idea of sex. And I thought that I was conditioned to believe that it was something that, women didn't have pleasure in sex. It was all like the man trying to get, trying to get the woman to have sex because that was the thing, in the 90s, and women were like, okay, fine, eventually, and it was just something and so I think for me growing up, it was like that, there was like that shame and that stigma around sex to the point where it was like I considered myself a non-sexual person. I just didn't, it wasn't the center of my life, or it wasn't like an important part of my life.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think, because of all of that stuff that was layered on top of all of that conditioning. And I think for a lot of people out there, that is probably layered on by stuff we're taught from the religions we come up with from, that are basically the human interpretation of what God wants. And I'll say, I don't think God doesn't want us to have pleasure on this life. That's a silly idea when you think about it. And then it's like conditioned by how we're communicating with other people, or other things we see that are actually unhealthy, but we kind of muddy it up with, like holistically with all of what sex represents. Like when we see people who are doing like, bad things, like non-consensual things,
Yeah.
on the side, and then we kind of like lump that into, what would actually be considered healthy. And now now we've got shame around that. But it wasn't until we started exploring like our sexuality more together,
Yeah.
and really asking those questions that I discovered, oh, hey, I like this whole pleasure thing, and it doesn't have to be shameful. And most importantly, you like it. Like it's not just like you just doing something for me because like I have needs as a man or something like that, something stupid, but you had those needs too.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an important part of that self-discovery that we need to have before we ask questions like, well, how can I meet your needs?
Yeah. Because we both come to the table and we teach each other what we like and what we want.
Right.
Aren't we better off that way? It's kind of like in a non-shaming, non-judging conversation.
Right.
And getting to that place is something we'll talk later in another episode, is how to make sure that you're in tune with yourself,
right,
so that you're not elevated when you have conversations, and to be open and curious to that.
That's a great discussion. I love putting a pin in that because I think that is going to make that's an entire episode in and of itself. And I just want to add this caveat that is of course important, that in any of that desire and pleasure and all that kind of stuff, that consent is the primary, consent and safety and primary importance in that realm, and in everything we're doing within our relationship, including sexual activities. But that also requires communication.
Yeah. And
it also requires deep self-reflection on what you want, what you need, and so tying it back a little bit to the idea of a business. I grew up in a family business, and in that world, a lot of times, for a lot of people who grow up in multi-generational family businesses that are many generations old, there's these unsaid and often spoken, sometimes unspoken, sometimes spoken, expectations that are put on you. There's unspoken and sometimes spoken identities that are put on you.
Yeah.
So you almost don't get an opportunity if you kind of live into that, which is really hard not to do, because this is like your family system defining your identity. And so a lot of times we don't even have an opportunity in that space, didn't have an opportunity to define my identity. I also think that's true when you grow up in a deeply rooted, say, church or religious kind of circle. Not saying that that's bad. Community is wonderful. Spirituality, faith is wonderful. We have faith and we are faithful people. But there's also that unhealthy dynamic when we insert the human aspect of what is expected of us from an identity perspective, that doesn't align with what our identity is. And that we say that if we don't do that, we're bad or somehow ousted from the community. That gets reflected on us negatively. And then we never want to visit who we truly are at our core ever again.
Yeah.
And that's something that I want, we like, as in this episode, want to help you to break free from, to share that maybe it's okay, that it's absolutely okay. It's absolutely healthy to determine and investigate and reflect on your real identity, regardless of what people in the past have told you to believe about your identity.
Yes.
Sorry, that was my soapbox.
So when that relates to relationships, how do you think that we get to that point of that self-discovery? What do you think that we should start with first to get us on that track of figuring out what we want? Like, say like, I have no clue. I don't know what I want. I work really hard. I'm doing my job, and then you're setting this unrealistic expectation for me to now discover who I am, and I'm just like elevated, and I have so much on my plate, and it sounds like one big chore.
Sure. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. It's a chore when somebody asks you, like, and puts it on you, and you're expected to. So if I'm to ask you, like, what do you want? How can I show up as a better husband? Right.
Yes.
That sounds like the chore to you.
Yeah.
But I think you said it really well, in that, and I'll ask how this hits you. That instead of making it a chore of, I need to figure this out, or I need to define myself, and I need to define my identity. What if instead you turned it to the very word that you just said earlier? What if you turned it into a discovery?
Yes.
Because how would that hit if I said that this is not something like your identity, who you are at your core, what your wants, your desires, your core passions, your wants in life, your fantasies, all of that. What if that wasn't something that you just had to like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and I'm going to do a strategy or a mind map or some kind of thing, but it's just a discovery process.
Yeah.
What if that were the case?
For me, that sounds wonderful, but for many of probably people don't know where to start.
Right. Yeah. It's a daunting process, but
it's like, well, that's great and all, and that's way out there, but I'm in the thick of things. I have no time to think about this.
Sure.
I don't have any time. When am I going to have time to think about what I want?
Now,
what I want is a nap.
Right. What if the very reason that you don't have that time and that you feel so overwhelmed and you feel so overburdened and exhausted is because you haven't prioritized discovering that? Because, I mean, my feeling about time is, I think time is a very simple equation. The amount of time you have in any single day. Well, naturally, I mean, like, at least from the standpoint of science, it's 24 hours in a day. That's what everybody has. And that's the great equalizer, is the amount of time we have. Now, time as we perceive it, that's a bit different. Because time as we perceive it is just a product of energy and efficiency. How much energy you have and how much efficiency you put into your life are what can give you enormous amounts of time. So if you think about it from that perspective, if you don't have a lot of energy, if your battery is drained, well, then you're not going to be doing things at the highest level. You're going to feel drained. You're going to feel like it's dragging. You're going to feel like the world or tasks are owning you instead of the other way around. And if you're not efficient and you're just like juggling a bunch of stuff at once, then that's going to simultaneously drain you and frustrate you and overwhelm you.
Yes.
And so time is going to fly by and you're not going to have accomplished anything, right? But if you maximize your energy doing tasks or doing activities or focusing on the things that bring you energy, well, then you're going to do those things better, faster. You're going to enjoy them more, which is going to give you, more time because you're being more productive. And same with efficiency if you're doing those things more efficiently. I want to focus on the energy part first, though.
Yes.
Because we talk about this discovery. And that's one, I think, exercise you can do even just throughout your daily life is to self-reflect on the activities, the people, the things that you do that bring you energy, and then the things that drain your energy. And just making a list of that, and being rigorously honest, okay, my kids drain my energy. I mean, oh yeah, that sounds brutal, but it's also truth, and it's the truth you have to own and figure out to discover that identity. Don't attach any shame or emotion to it. Just observe it so that and you become more self-aware. Self-awareness is a superpower.
Yeah.
To be that. So that's, I think, one of the first things you do is just like monitor that energy to give yourself some time, and then prioritize that discovery process. And there's more to it I can explain, but I'm just curious to know your thoughts.
I think that is a great place to monitor your energy and look at where, but then discover, like, I would like to go deeper into that. Mm-hmm. Like, what gives you joy? What are you daydreaming about? Mm-hmm. What are you reading? What romance movies are you watching, if you are? Or what does your ideal date look like? So here's like these are really great prompts for your journal to ask yourself these questions, and you can ask them throughout the day. You can grab your phone and type in your notes, mm-hmm. and just be self-aware of, like, oh, I was daydreaming about, like getting a great massage today. Yeah. And then that's a fantasy, it's like that. Those are something that brings you joy.
Yeah. You could dig deeper on that too. Cause it's just like, oh, why do I like the massage? Like, what is it about that? Oh, it's the touch. It's the physical touch.
Yes.
Maybe it's that you like, or maybe it's just the attention. Mm-hmm. And if you can get really clear on going down that rabbit hole of like, oh, what is it that I like about that? Then you start to learn about like your love language and your core desires, and like the things that and those are the things that you can start to communicate with your spouse or with your loved ones, so that they know how to show up in those individual ways. Then without them having to prompt you, you can just say, hey, I realize that I crave touch.
And I would like a great back rub right now. Yeah. Or I know this about women, about mm-hmm. like just having her hair touched. Yeah. That's like the most amazing feel. It's like, maybe some people out there don't like it, but it's just relaying the stuff that brings you joy.
Yeah.
In like the day-to-day life. Like, I like being outside and mm-hmm. being in the sunshine, and that's that, or taking a walk outside too. It's like, okay, let's spend our date night outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or having a day date. So
right. Yeah.
Then that takes the pressure off if you have little ones too. Get a babysitter so that you can take a minute and de-stress mm-hmm. and enjoy your significant other too. Yeah. But think just like, what are you fantasizing about? What are you reading? Like, what are you looking at? Like, mm-hmm. these are all things that is giving you a dopamine hit. So what is it about it? And then try to write it down and dig deep and figure that out. So mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. Let's monitor our energy and where it's going.
Yeah.
And if our brains are going to this certain place, and we notice it over and over again that this is what I'm thinking about, then let's journal about it so you can understand it, and then bring it to your significant other or your partner, mm-hmm. and let them know this is something that lights you up.
Right.
Inside.
Absolutely. And I think we talked about this in the balance episode too, mm-hmm. and we talked about the idea of presence, mm-hmm. right? As being kind of that idea is kind of being that anti not anti, but the replacement for balance, like it's
Yeah.
presence. And I think that applies here too, because you need, in order to have that level of self-awareness, you need to have presence. And as you're saying that, there's one thing that also requires to be able to figure that out, have that presence, to be able to have that discovery process that we're talking about here. You also need space. And this is going to piss a lot of people off, because this is where that I don't have time to like meditate or sit in silence or put space in my life. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You don't have time, and there's all sorts of excuses, because if someone's to say, well, you're just not prioritizing it, you're probably going to throw an anvil at me and everything like that. But so be it. But I'm just telling the truth here. In order to have that discovery process, you have to create the space for it. You have to create the consistent space for it to be able to have that self-discovery. And there's like we have to talk about sometime in the future too, this idea of the personal operating system, right? Business, there's an operating system, and for ourselves, we have an operating system as well. And I think this is as good a time as any to talk about this, right? This idea of this personal or this individual operating system.
Yeah.
And so assigning it to business, I mean, this is what we do within our businesses. If we don't have an operating system for our business, we have chaos in our business. And we might be making money or we might be making revenue, but the way that that's happening is through absolute chaos of running around and stress and unhealthy teams and all of this kind of stuff. But if you have an operating system in place, something like EOS or any other kind of operating system, but you choose an operating system that encompasses a series of components that will strengthen your business, allow you to have that vision, the space to have that strong vision, allow you to execute well on that vision, to actually do the consistent actions that will take you in that direction, and have a healthy team. That's the thing that will build you into a great company that attracts the right kind of people and then operates effectively. Individually, we need that operating system as well. And I think for us individually, that's kind of what we've adopted since, I mean, for me, when I started implementing that kind of stuff in our business, I also started to create it in my life. And what I did there was basically I adopted a lot of the same principles from what we use in the business system to actually bring and discover who we truly are. Mm-hmm. What are my core values? Like, what are the true values that I live every day? And there's a lot of different exercises to do this. One of my favorites, in order to find, if you're doing this practice individually, to try to discover your core values, is there's a number of different companies that sell like values cards or core values cards. One of them is Gary Keller of Keller Williams. He has like this one thing values cards that you can buy. You probably find it on Amazon, and you just lay them out on the ground, and you start taking a few passes of like which words really resonate with you, and then the more passes you go, you're trying to narrow it down to like 3 to 5 core values, and then you just keep narrowing, not with the idea of getting perfect on these, but again, just discovering, getting to like feeling like you're 80% there, because that, at least you're getting closer, you're making progress. If your goal is perfection, if your goal is to get to it, you're never going to get there. So just focus on that progress. And if you go through that exercise, you'll get closer on your values than you were. Another way is to think of people that you know personally, that you admire. Think of anywhere between 3 and 10 individuals that you know personally, that you admire. Is it a leader that you know that you've met? Is it a pastor? Is it somebody in your family? Whatever that may be. And then you just start brain dumping all of the traits of that person. And then you kind of go through the same exercise. You go through that and you just narrow it down. That gets you kind of to your core values. And I think that's a good starting point, is when you know what your core values truly are. And when you start to get there, that'll drive everything else. Because that then gets to the next question, is like, what are you truly like passionate about? Like what drives you? If you were to just find like one sentence of what you're passionate about, that's kind of how that'll give you more of what you're driving. Those two questions kind of give you that direction. And I'll say for that, and the reason I say kind of don't focus on perfection there is because when you're looking at the values and that passion that you have, you may not know it right away. Like I ask you, hey, what's your passion? What's your number one passion? You're like, I don't know. But here's what that question to yourself does is if you like kind of anchor that question in your day-to-day habits and you start to reflect on that. And even if you just write something down, like I'm passionate about, I'm passionate about helping others to succeed in business. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's something that you can like basically try on for 30 days, see how it's hitting you. Or over the course of a year, when you're reflecting on that question, you'll start to become more self-aware of the activities that you're doing through the day-to-day life. And then it'll become an aha when those data points start to come back at you. The whole key around this discovery process is a self-awareness that brings you to understanding your identity, not the identity that your business assigned to you, or that your family assigned to you, or that your religion or anybody else assigned to you. This is deep within you. And this is courageous work because you might be going against and you might discover something that scares you or something that is against something you grew up with. And I want to emphasize that that's okay because I found that. And it didn't break me. It reinforced my faith in a vastly better way. And I feel so much better because of it. And I'm sorry I went on there, but that was just like values and passion, I think, are two important aspects there as well.
That's a good start for people too, because I think that actionable steps. I mean, we can talk forever and just have conversation about this, but if we're not taking actionable steps, then we're not going to move forward in any of our lives or in our relationships. So, I mean, it goes back to you asking me, how can I be a better husband? And it's like, I need to see you doing things then rather than we talk about it and then it just goes into a box and we don't do anything.
Yeah.
So
well, that's interesting. Yeah. Cause that kind of brings to mind, like, what would you rather have? A husband that is reaching out, that's constantly reaching out to you saying, hey, are your needs met today? Did I meet you? How can I meet you? Am I meeting your needs? Are you taken care of? How can I support you? All this kind of stuff. Or is it the husband that is doing for himself, like what he's passionate about, what he wants, and is growing and thriving and living into himself, which I imagine is the person you might have fell in love with.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what's more attractive? I guess I'm asking in that instance, like what are you more attracted to in that sense?
I would say the latter, about you living into your passion and then doing stuff that makes you feel aligned.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean
yourself.
Ignoring you, right?
I know, but a lot of people take it that way. And a lot of people who sometimes will say like, you are more growth oriented than I am. So sometimes a spouse who is in that position where they have their partner who is more growth oriented feels left behind.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's either pump the brakes or I start speeding up. And when it comes to, let's just say in the past, I've had instances where I'm like, I have no clue on how to grow. And I don't know where to start because I feel like I'm doing all this other stuff.
Right.
And then that's a good indication for me to start auditing what. It's like turning that finger and just going, I need to figure out what makes me feel happy. And take the stuff that, yes, we have to take care of the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we have to do this other stuff, but there's also what can we either prep meals on Sunday, get everything, like everything is just like everything is prepped on Sundays. And everything's set up for the week for that reason, so that there you can give yourself more time the rest of the week to figure out, hey, I need to find something for myself, because the kids are not going to be there forever.
Right.
They're going to be gone.
Yeah.
And then what's going to be left is me trying to figure out at that point, when there's so many years have passed and I hadn't looked in the mirror and said, what do you really want?
Right. Right.
To myself. So there is the instance of one of the partners is always moving forward, and then the other one feels stuck too.
Yeah.
So, and usually the one moving forward is asking the questions to the other one, and that feels overwhelming to them. So it's kind of understanding that where they are at and helping them audited in a gentle way.
Yeah. Yeah. Asking permission. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, I noticed that you really like doing such and such. You know, get curious about the partner. I would say if you're going to ask that question of how can I be a better husband?
Yeah.
Is getting curious about what they actually are passionate about. Right. So you will, and if you live with the person, you should start seeing those things and having those discussions. I noticed that you really like blah, blah, blah. And encourage them. Hey, maybe it would be fun to take a cooking class, or maybe it would be fun to take a painting class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's going to be a lot of fight with that.
Right. Right.
Because usually the person who doesn't really focus on themselves doesn't usually won't do that sort of stuff. Yeah. So it's very important to be kind in that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because sometimes it's really difficult for the person who feels stuck to get unstuck, and it takes a little bit longer for them, and having the patience to understand that.
Yeah.
But it's being that gentle nudging. Hey, I noticed you were passionate about this. Dinner nights, they suck. Why don't we prep it on Sunday? Let's make it a game on Sunday night. Like me and you, we're just in the kitchen chopping up stuff, going to get everything ready for the slow cooker, and then just put it in bags, and then turn on some music while we're making food, and then we have it all set for the rest of the week. So we both know what what's going to be for dinners.
Yeah.
So.
It's a connection exercise, and it's efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah. And music helps with everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's like, I think to that point, I think, you're building in these connection rhythms, which are important, and more important than like, how can I meet your needs, or how can I show up as a better husband, when you don't know a lot about yourself. Because it's through those connection rhythms that you'll really start to learn more about your spouse and what they enjoy. Because then it starts to organically come up, instead of them having to rack their brain to figure that out for you. Because I think the response, and if this is hitting you the wrong, because if you're jumping to the comment section and you're just going to be like getting on that high horse and saying, nope, my spouse needs to know exactly what I want, what I am, and who I am before I even know it for myself, and all of that. I want you to you need to reflect on that yourself. You need to take a good hard look into the mirror and really go through that discovery exercise. Because if that's hitting you, there's something that needs to be worked out there. That and it's not an easy it's not a quick process. It's not an easy process. It's a simple process, but simple is not always easy. And the not easy part means that you could be challenged. You could be challenged on themes that you thought were important to you, but really aren't. But as you go through this with just an open mind and honesty with yourself, I guarantee it gets better for you, because now you have an opportunity to live that life. And I'll say that this whole thing sounds selfish to say, like, yeah, I think that, instead of asking your spouse like how you could show up better as a husband, first figure out for yourself I mean, we keep talking about husbands, but it goes for wives as well.
Yeah,
It goes for
exactly.
both parties. But figure out for yourself like what you want, what your desires are, what your values are, what that is, and then go live the life that you want, and be who you want to be. And you might think, well, that's selfish. What about my family? What about my spouse? What about everything else? And I will tell you, the thing is, you will show up as a better spouse when you show up more as yourself. That's the trust you have to have in that.
Yeah.
And if that's not the case, then that's a deeper discussion with the spouse, that there's a disconnection there that needs to be repaired. But none of that is going to work until you do that self-discovery. And I'll say one more thing about that, because the other place that I discovered that is in sobriety. So the story around that is that for a decade of my life, I drank very heavily. And, I got into alcoholism. There's a lot of reasons I did. There's no reason to get, into the details of that here. If you want to learn more about that, I wrote a book on it, Shifting Gears. It's available on Amazon. You can find that and read about it. But ultimately, one of the reasons why I was reluctant to get sober was because in the rooms of AA, I was always told you need to put your sobriety first before everything else, before family, before your wife, your kids, all of it, your job, all of it. I was like, well, I can't do that. I have responsibilities. My wife needs me, and I'm a noble person. And I want to make sure she's taken care of, and all of this stuff, and my kids are taken care of. And how can I be so selfish to be going to a meeting every single night while they're at home doing blah 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 blah? And yet still, I was showing up as a drunk husband that wasn't the best version of himself, right?
Yes.
And so I say that to say that maybe you're not drunk, maybe you're not an alcoholic, maybe, but the whole idea of going through AA and going through that process of the 12 steps was really an identity discovery process. It was a removing of the obstacles that was getting in the way of my identity and who I truly am. And when I did that, when I prioritized sobriety over everything else, what I did was I prioritized myself and my recovery, my identity, who I truly was. And I didn't go far enough at that point, because even now I'm still going through that process as I leave the family business, and I still discover more about myself, and I'm still putting myself first on that front. And what that did was it led to me showing up as a better person for every person that I know, including my spouse.
Yes.
So maybe you're not a useless drunk, or maybe you aren't, addicted to something, but it may be that you haven't fully dug into your identity yet and made that discovery. And if you can learn to show up better there for yourself, true to yourself, maybe you can show up better as a spouse.
Yes. Because yours was alcohol, and pretty much you were suppressing a lot of feelings and misunderstandings about yourself, and
Right.
and feeling guilty and shame and guilt. Other people can use other substances, or work, or working too hard, or other ways of suppressing and numbing their feelings. And we're basically asking people to stop that and start feeling and to start discovering. And that's a very scary place for people to go. But if they really, truly do that, you will find that you have way more energy. And again, you can show up better, is what you're saying. So it's like an important part of your self-care is the self-discovery, to be able to do that for another person. So it's actually not just for yourself. It's for everybody in yourself, because we all know, like, if we come home angry, how does that affect the whole household?
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah.
Could we have sat in the car and tried to do some breathing techniques, called somebody, maybe taking a walk before we walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are things that we need to start doing for ourselves and being honest about that fact that where are we numbing out?
Yeah.
Because we're can't like look inward.
Yeah. Right.
And just stopping the shame and guilt around it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think the action steps here that we would recommend to start, I think is A, just understand that it's not a selfish act to focus on yourself first and your identity and living who you truly are at your core, in a positive and meaningful way. From the standpoint of who you are, what your passions are, what your core values are, what your sexuality is, all of that. There's nothing to shame there as long as it's safe and consensual. And from the standpoint of what to take away from this, here's what I think we would recommend.
Yes.
Is for yourself, if you want to show up as a better spouse, if you want to be a better spouse to your spouse, good for you. That's awesome. And I mean, I think that's great. If you want to be the best spouse in the world. So now the first thing that you want to do is discover who you truly are. The first action that takes is finding the space, making the space for that. Can you find an hour a day? And I'm not talking about like extra working out or running. Can you just find an hour of quiet a day where you can journal about it, where you can reflect on it, where you can like actually spend time in presence with yourself intentionally, so that you can allow that space to exist for that discovery process to emerge. Vision comes out of space, and it's a discovery. And then the second part is go through the discovery exercise of at least starting with your core values and what you're passionate about. Because what those core values and that passion will unlock for you is it will start taking you down a more of a process of discovering the deeper truth of what you are. What is your love language? What are your core passions? What are your core desires? What is your long-term vision? What adventures do you want to go on? And you can start to run this gambit and find out truly who you are. One resource I'd like to share with you to maybe even go through that process. In the EOS world, there's something, if you just Google it, it's called a personal VTO, Vision Traction Organizer. And this is just somewhere where you can log a lot of those ideas. I even have a video on my own YouTube channel at Adam C. Hill that kind of describes the process of building out your personal vision traction organizer. And that's a helpful way to start to identify yourself. And from that, new patterns will emerge. And then lastly, I think just be open-minded. Be open to what comes up and have the courage to face the realities and challenges of different things that were imprinted in you when you grew up.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's a great start as well. And I think that is just getting curious with yourself, with your spouse, and just start from there. Journaling's a great start.
Yeah.
Even if you are having to get all the anger out prior to that, is just writing it out and just letting it go.
Yeah.
So other than that, I think that this was a good episode.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's another step that we can add into that too, which is to connect with your spouse, of course, and have that intentional connection. I think that intentional connection just requires that you schedule it, and that you have something of an agenda, and we have a resource for you if you'd like to do just that. It's called our weekly connection. It's our weekly connection. And we have it available for download. If you want to download this workbook, it'll help you to it has an agenda. It has some prompting questions that will help you to have this weekly connection and have that intentional time together, so that you can strengthen your relationship while you discover your own identity, your own unique identity. So download that now. We'll have it in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Please subscribe, do all the things that help us to spread the word out there about this show, because we really want to help entrepreneurial couples to strengthen their relationship that strengthens everything else. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Startup Spouses.